Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive into psychedelics.
Ooh, psychedelics.
Yeah, we got...
It's a big topic.
Yeah, it is, but it's a really fascinating one, and we've got such an interesting mix of stuff to go through today.
Yeah.
From, like, TEDx talks to interviews with, like, comedians and researchers, even a French documentary.
Oh, wow. A French documentary.
Yeah, so lots of different viewpoints.
Yeah, it's going to be great to kind of go beyond just the hype of, this psychedelic renaissance everyone's talking about.
Exactly.
And really, like, look at the history, the science, the culture, the clashes, the whole thing.
Yeah, like, what does it all mean for the future?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of our mission with this deep dive, is to give you, like, a solid understanding of this topic that goes, beyond just the headlines.
I think so often we just get these little snippets of information.
Yeah.
But we're really going to unpack it all.
Yeah, and I think we should start with something that really, like, blew my mind. When I was prepping for this, one of the TEDx talks we have is by Nick Linos, and he mentions this fact that our bodies actually produce DMT naturally.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what?
I know. That always blows people's mind.
I know. It's like DMT is this...
Yeah, and dimethyltryptamine, to be precise.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
But, like, we have it in us.
We do, yeah. It's this really powerful psychedelic compound that's found in a bunch of plants.
Right.
But, yeah, it's naturally occurring in our bodies, too.
So why aren't we, like, tripping all the time?
Right. That's the big question.
Yeah.
Scientists are still trying to figure out exactly what it's doing in there.
Yeah.
There are theories that maybe it's involved in dreaming or near-death experiences.
Whoa.
Or even just, like, how we perceive reality day to day.
Interesting.
But, yeah, we don't really know for sure yet.
Huh. So it suggests, though, that, like, altered states of consciousness are part of us.
Like built in,
Like it's not just something external.
It's not just about the drugs. It's like something deeper.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, like, how long have humans been tapping into these states?
Yeah.
And, it goes way back, way before the 1960s.
Oh, for sure.
We're talking thousands of years.
Oh, yeah.
Archaeological evidence, like those peyote effigies they found near the Rio Grande.
Oh, right. Yeah.
They show that indigenous cultures have been using these substances for spiritual and ritual purposes for a very long time.
For millennia.
Yeah, millennia.
It's incredible.
It is.
So, but how did we get from those ancient practices to, like, the 20th century and the huge boom in scientific interest?
Well, I think a lot of it can be traced back to Albert Hofmann.
Okay.
And his accidental discovery of LSD in 1943.
Yeah, the bicycle day.
Bicycle day. He accidentally ingested some LSD while he was working in the lab.
Oh, wow.
And ended up having to ride his bike home, like tripping out.
I can't imagine.
Wild, right?
What a way to discover a drug.
Yeah, talk about an unexpected side effect. But that kind of kicked off a whole wave of research into LSD.
Right.
And its potential uses.
As a therapy.
Yeah, as a therapy.
Like to treat things like depression and anxiety.
Exactly. In the 50s and early 60s, LSD was seen as this potential wonder drug.
Wow.
For all sorts of mental health conditions.
Yeah, and there was all this research coming out about it.
Thousands of papers suggesting some pretty promising results.
Oh, what happened?
Well, that's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
I mean, how did we go from this, like, optimism to this huge backlash and the war on drugs?
Yeah.
Well, there were a few things at play.
Okay.
First, you had Timothy Leary.
Oh, right.
This Harvard psychologist.
Yeah.
Who became a very vocal advocate for LSD use.
Right. He wanted everyone to turn on, tune in, and drop out.
Exactly. Turn on, tune in, and drop out.
Yeah.
And that message, along with the association of LSD with the anti-war protests, it started to really worry the authorities. And then on top of that, you had some unfortunate incidents of people using LSD irresponsibly and just a lot of misinformation spreading around.
Right.
And all of that kind of led to these increasing restrictions and eventually, the criminalization of LSD and other psychedelics.
Just a perfect storm.
Yeah, like a cultural anxiety mixed with politics and just bad timing.
Right. And then all this promising research just keeps shut down.
Yeah, a lot of it did.
Yeah.
And, some of that misinformation persists even today.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Like the myth that LSD is often contaminated with strychnine.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Which is totally not true.
Right.
That's been debunked.
Yeah.
But it shows you how these ideas can really stick around.
Yeah, it's like the fear became bigger.
Exactly. The fear kind of took over.
Than the actual
And it blocked, it blocked the potential. It blocked the understanding.
Yeah, but now it seems like...
Now things are changing.
Yeah, like with the psychedelic renaissance, it feels like there's this renewed interest in exploring these substances.
Definitely, especially for therapy.
Yeah, and this time around, scientists have like...
way better tools.
Way better tools.
Yeah, like brain imaging, fMRI, all these things that could really help us understand what's going on in the brain.
How these substances are actually working.
Exactly.
Yeah, and one of the things that's come out of that research is that psychedelics, they can have a really big impact on the default mode network.
The default mode network, that's a mouthful.
It is.
Do you know much about that?
I mean, I know it's a network in the brain. Yeah. But I'd love to hear more about how it actually relates to this psychedelic experience.
So the default mode network, it's this bunch of interconnected brain regions.
Okay.
And it becomes active when we're not focused on a task.
Okay.
So like when we're daydreaming, mind wandering, thinking about ourselves.
Okay.
And what's interesting is that psychedelics, particularly psilocybin from magic mushrooms, they can actually quiet down this network.
So they're like turning down the volume?
Exactly. They're like turning down the volume on the default mode network.
Wow.
Which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah. So does that mean that psychedelics are kind of like allowing the brain to break free from its usual thought patterns?
That's the idea, yeah.
Oh.
Like it's dampening the activity of this network that's usually so active.
Right.
And that might create this like window for the brain to kind of rewire itself to break free from these rigid patterns.
So like the patterns that are...
Yeah, the patterns that might be contributing to things like depression or anxiety.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's really fascinating.
That's amazing. And so is that like saying that psychedelics are giving us a way to like reset the brain?
Yeah, maybe like reset or rebalance it in a way that traditional therapies haven't been able to.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a possibility.
And like, is there evidence?
Researchers are looking into it.
Yeah.
And the early results are really promising.
Okay.
Like there have been these studies using psilocybin to treat depression and MDMA to treat PTSD.
Right.
And they're finding that some patients experience these like long-term benefits.
Wow.
After just a few sessions.
That's incredible.
It is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, but I do think it's important to acknowledge that some people are saying we need to be careful about overhyping.
Oh, totally.
Like not calling them miracle cures.
Yeah, like not calling them miracle cures.
Yeah, because we need more research to really understand the long-term effects.
Right.
And the risks.
Yeah.
Like, we need a balanced perspective here.
For sure.
So we don't want to get too carried away.
Right. But I think for me, like, what's really interesting is, like, we've talked about therapy, but how is this relevant to, like, you know...
the average person.
Yeah, the average person who might not be seeking therapy.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think one of the most fascinating things about this whole psychedelic renaissance is that it's pushing us to really look at the nature of consciousness.
Yeah.
Like, what is consciousness?
Right.
It's challenging this materialist view of the mind.
Okay.
And it's opening up these new ways of understanding who we are.
Yeah.
And how we experience the world.
So can you, like, give some examples?
Oh, yeah.
Of how psychedelics are challenging our understanding of consciousness?
Yeah. I mean, one of the key things is that psychedelics can help us transcend our ego.
Okay.
Like our usual ego-centered perspective.
Okay.
And that can lead to these really profound experiences of interconnectedness, like a feeling of oneness with something bigger than ourselves.
Right.
Yeah. Like Michael Pollan in his book, How to Change Your Mind.
Oh, yeah. Great.
He talks about how the opposite of spiritual isn't material, but egotistical.
Right.
So it's like psychedelics.
Yeah.
By helping us move beyond the ego, are they opening up this more expansive way?
Like a wider lens.
Yeah. Of like experiencing reality.
Yeah. A wider lens on reality.
Yeah. That's fascinating.
It is fascinating.
And it makes you wonder, like, what are the implications of that?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, not just for individuals.
Not just for individuals.
But for, like, society as a whole.
For society, for culture.
Yeah.
For the planet.
That's a huge question.
It is a huge question.
Yeah.
And one that I think we need to be asking.
Yeah, and I think it's something we're going to dive into
Definitely
more as we continue this deep dive. But before we get ahead of ourselves,
I
think we need to talk about
the controversy.
The controversies, yeah.
Yeah, there are some...
The ethical considerations, all the
the messy stuff.
Yeah, the messy stuff that comes with this psychedelic resurgence.
Totally, because it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
No.
We need to be aware of the potential downsides and the challenges and figure out how to navigate all of this responsibly and ethically.
Exactly. Like there are concerns about commercialization, exploitation of indigenous knowledge.
Yeah, big time.
The risks of uncontrolled use.
Totally.
We need to be having these conversations.
Yeah, open and honest conversations.
Yeah, to make sure that this psychedelic renaissance unfolds in a way
that benefits everyone.
Yeah, that benefits everyone.
Not just a select few.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think, let's unpack all of those controversies.
All right, let's do it.
And dive in.
Let's dive in. So one of the big tensions I see in the world of psychedelics is this clash between the traditional use, often spiritual use of these substances, and then the push to medicalize and commercialize them.
Yeah, you're right. It's like you have people who've been working with these medicines for generations, like in ceremonies, and they're worried that their knowledge is going to be taken and appropriated.
Yeah, profit.
Yeah, and it's a valid concern.
Hold on.
It raises all these questions about intellectual property, cultural sensitivity, the ethics of
profiting off something that a lot of people consider sacred.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the French documentary actually gets into this quite a bit, highlighting the concerns of indigenous communities and the potential for exploitation.
Right, because it's a perspective that sometimes gets lost in all the excitement about the medical stuff.
Exactly. Like take ayahuasca, for example. Ayahuasca.
Yeah.
It's been used...
It's a classic example.
For centuries.
Yeah, for centuries.
In these spiritual and healing ceremonies by indigenous groups in South America.
In the Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now there's all this interest.
So much interest.
In its therapeutic potential. And there's this worry that
companies
and researchers are going to try to patent it.
Yeah, like the brew.
Yeah, the brew or its components.
Right.
And basically profit.
Right. Off this indigenous knowledge.
Exactly.
Yeah, without giving them
credit. And compensation.
Yeah, anything.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the money, though, right?
No, it's not just about the money.
There's also that risk of cultural appropriation.
Oh, huge.
Of these sacred practices being taken out of context.
Totally.
Modified.
Turned into a product.
Yeah, like another product.
Right.
For the Western wellness market.
Exactly. And the documentary really brings that home.
Yeah.
With interviews from indigenous leaders.
Yeah.
Who are emphasizing the importance of respecting the traditional knowledge and the practices that surround these substances.
Right. It's a good reminder that this psychedelic renaissance isn't just about the science and the medicine.
That's about more than that.
Yeah. It's about
culture.
Yeah, like how do we navigate?
Yeah, how do we do this right?
These ethical and cultural considerations, and how do we make sure that these powerful substances are used in a way
that honors their history and respects
the people who have used them.
The community. Yeah, and part of that respect is acknowledging the risks too.
Yes, totally.
Both for individuals and society.
Yeah, for sure.
Because while these substances can be these incredible tools.
Yeah, for healing.
Yeah, for healing and growth.
But they're not for everyone.
They're not for everyone.
And they can be dangerous.
And
I think Stephen Bright, in his TEDx talk...
Oh, yeah, he makes a great point.
He makes this really important distinction between, the medical use of psychedelics, which is often, very controlled.
Yeah, very controlled.
And supervised. And then recreational use, which can be...
much more unpredictable.
Way more unpredictable.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we need to keep in mind.
For sure.
When we talk about the therapeutic potential...
Yeah, we're talking about
specific protocols.
Yeah, specific
protocols.
Carefully screened patients.
Yeah.
Trained therapists.
Right.
Controlled environments.
Yeah, and integration support.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah, that's very different.
Totally different.
From someone just experimenting.
Yeah, on their own.
On their own at home.
Yeah, without guidance.
Yeah.
Without understanding the risks
And even in a therapeutic setting, there can be
challenges.
Yeah.
I mean, psychedelics can unlock these amazing insights and breakthroughs.
Yeah.
But they can also unearth trauma.
Right.
Or trigger...
It's difficult.
Yeah, difficult psychological experiences.
Yeah. It's not
a walk in the park.
Yeah, it's not always fun.
No, it's not always fun.
Yeah. So the therapist or guide...
It's so important.
Really important.
In those situations.
It provides support.
Yeah, to create a safe space.
Yeah.
To help the person navigate those experiences.
Right, and the integration.
Yeah, the integration is huge.
Yeah.
Like the work of...
Making sense of
the experience and bringing it back into your life.
Right.
It's just as important as the journey itself.
Yeah. And then there's also that societal level to think about.
Oh, yeah.
Like what happens?
What happens if...
Where people have access.
Yeah. If we open the floodgates, will there be more drug abuse?
Yeah.
Will society become unstable?
Right. Like I can see...
Those are valid concerns.
Why people would be worried.
Especially given the history.
Yeah, the history of prohibition.
Yeah.
And the fear.
And fear-mongering.
Yeah. But it feels like with any powerful tool, like the key is...
Responsible use.
Responsible use, yeah.
And education.
Education.
Like we need to move beyond drugs are bad, just say no.
Exactly.
And embrace
a more
nuanced, evidence-based approach.
So like harm reduction. Education.
Regulation.
Yeah, like all of that.
All of that is crucial.
Seems so important.
If we want to actually harness the benefits and minimize the harms.
And that includes talking about intellectual property.
Oh, yeah, that's a tricky one.
And commercialization.
Commercialization, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have
the pharmaceutical companies who want to patent patent the compound.
Yeah, patent the compounds, develop the treatment. And make a profit.
Yeah.
And then you have a lot of people
in the psychedelic community.
Who
are like, no, these substances should be available to everyone.
Yeah, they should be free.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be controlled by corporations.
Yeah. It's like...
There's a real clash of values.
Huge clash of values, yeah.
Yeah, like profit versus well-being.
Exactly. And it raises that current of like, who benefits?
Who benefits from this renaissance?
From this renaissance, yeah. And how do we make sure? It's actually being used to promote healing. And well-being and not just profit.
Not just profit.
Right. It's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
Like we have MPS.
Yeah.
They've been doing incredible work with MDMA-assisted therapy.
For PTSD.
But they've also gotten some criticism.
Yeah, some criticism.
So we're trying to patent...
certain aspects.
Yeah, certain aspects of their treatment protocol.
Yeah, it's a gray area.
Yeah.
It's not always clear-cut.
Yeah.
And then you have people like Alexander Shulgin.
Right, Alexander Shulgin.
The chemist.
Yeah.
Who synthesized hundreds of psychedelic compounds.
Wow.
And he was adamant that these substances belong to humanity.
Not to corporations.
Not to corporations.
Yeah. And his work is...
It's a fascinating example.
So interesting.
Yeah, of a different approach.
Yeah.
Like this DIY ethos.
Right.
Exploration, personal responsibility, sharing knowledge freely.
Yeah.
And, he was a scientist. But he was also deeply aware
of the spiritual.
Yeah, the mystical, the spiritual dimensions of these substances.
And that seems to resonate with a lot of people who are drawn to psychedelics.
Whether it's for healing or personal growth, spiritual exploration.
Yeah, it's
about expanding our understanding.
Yeah, of who we are.
Where we fit in.
Yeah, our place in the universe.
Yeah.
The nature of reality.
Yeah, and that expansion of consciousness.
Yeah.
That shift in perspective.
Can be so powerful.
Yeah.
It can help us break free.
Yeah.
From limiting beliefs.
Some trauma.
Heal from trauma.
Find meaning.
And purpose.
And connect with
Connect with that sense of wonder.
Yeah.
And awe.
Wonder and awe, yeah.
Yeah.
That seems to be a common thread.
In a lot of people's experiences.
Especially with things like psilocybin.
Ayahuasca.
Like a sense of...
transcendence.
Yeah, interconnectedness. Experiencing reality.
From a new point of view.
A whole new point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a theme.
It comes up a lot.
That comes up a lot.
Yeah, and the research and the stories.
Yeah, like a glimpse.
A glimpse of something beyond our everyday reality.
beyond the ego.
Yeah.
And that can be
transformative.
So transformative.
Yeah.
And it can lead to lasting changes.
And how we think.
In our values, our beliefs, our behaviors.
Yeah.
It can make us more compassionate.
More empathetic.
More connected to the natural world.
Right. It's almost like psychedelics are giving us a glimpse of
a different way of being.
Yeah.
A different way of relating.
Yeah.
To ourselves, to each other, to the planet.
And that's what's driving all this excitement and hope.
The hope.
Around the psychedelic renaissance.
That these substances.
Yeah.
If used responsibly, with intention, can help us heal.
Heal ourselves.
Yeah, heal ourselves, heal our communities, heal the planet.
It's a big vision.
It is a big vision.
But it's not without its challenges.
No, it's not without its challenges.
As we've been talking about.
Yeah, we've got to address the ethics.
The ethics, yeah.
The risks.
The risks.
The need for access.
Access for everyone.
Yeah, equitable access.
Yeah, and then there's that question of...
Integration.
Yeah,
like how do we integrate?
Yeah,
how do we integrate these experiences?
These
expanded states of consciousness into a society.
Into a society that's
that might not be ready.
That doesn't understand or accept things.
That are outside the norm.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're talking about a paradigm shift.
Yeah.
Like a fundamental change.
In how we see the world.
The world. Ourselves.
Yeah.
Reality.
And history shows us that that can be met with
resistance,
with fear,
backlash.
Yeah.
Backlash.
So we need to be
careful.
We need to have these conversations. We need to educate.
Well.
And to listen to different perspectives.
Especially the
people who have been
working with these substances
for generations. Yeah,
outside the Western model.
Of the Western model.
Yeah, the indigenous communities.
Yeah.
They have so much knowledge.
Wisdom
to share.
Yeah.
And their voices need to be heard.
Yes, their voices need to be heard.
And I think by listening to them, by embracing that interconnectedness, by expanding our consciousness, by challenging our assumptions,
we can create a better future.
Yeah,
a future where psychedelics are used to heal.
To heal individuals. It's also to heal our planet.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful vision.
It is a beautiful vision.
Yeah.
One worth striving for.
So as we wrap up this part of the deep dive,
I'm
really curious to hear what you thought.
What stood out to you?
Yeah, what resonated with you?
What questions do you have?
Yeah, what concerns came up?
Yeah, let us know. We'd love to hear from you.
Join the conversation.
Yeah, share your thoughts.
Keep exploring.
Keep exploring this.
The psychedelic frontier.
So we've talked about all these personal experiences. But it's interesting to think about how they could lead to bigger changes in society. Like some people think
societal level changes.
Psychedelics could actually help us solve some of the biggest problems.
The big problem.
That humanity is facing.
That's a huge claim.
I know, it's a big one.
Yeah, we're talking climate change.
Yeah.
Social injustice. Political polarization.
Yeah, could these substances really change our perspectives enough?
Yeah, to actually make a difference.
Yeah.
With those huge issues.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine.
I know, it's but that's what some people are saying.
Yeah, the idea is these experiences of interconnectedness and transcendence could help us break free.
From that ego-driven thinking.
Right, the ego that's causing so many of these problems.
Think that us versus them mentality.
Yes.
That creates so much conflict, prevents us from seeing the bigger picture.
Yeah, and what if psychedelics could help us tap into more empathy?
More empathy.
More compassion.
And
more understanding.
Yeah, and maybe actually start to see things from
other people's perspectives.
Yeah. That's the hope.
Yeah, and see the interconnectedness of everything.
Yeah, a more holistic worldview.
Yeah.
That emphasizes the fact that we're all connected.
So we need to work together.
Yeah,
to solve these problems.
Exactly. And there's some evidence that these experiences can actually lead to lasting changes.
In people's behavior.
In people's values, their behaviors.
Wow.
Studies have shown that people who've had psychedelic experiences...
They often report increased pro-environmental attitudes.
Interesting.
Greater sense of social responsibility.
Okay.
Deeper appreciation for diversity and interconnectedness.
So are you saying psychedelics could be a catalyst?
Yeah, maybe a catalyst.
For a global consciousness shift.
It's a big idea.
It is a big idea.
But it's an interesting one.
Yeah, like away from.
Yeah, away from that individualistic, consumer-driven mindset.
That's caused so many problems.
Yeah, that's at the root of a lot of our issues.
Yeah.
But of course, it's not that simple.
Right.
You can't just give everyone psychedelics.
And everything's fixed.
And expect the world to change overnight.
Right.
We have to be realistic about the challenges.
The challenges and the risks.
The risks, yeah, we've talked about those.
Right.
But I think it's important
to keep that big picture in mind.
Yeah, to keep that vision in mind.
Yeah.
The possibility that these substances, used responsibly, intentionally, could contribute
to a better world.
To a more just, sustainable,
compassionate
world, yeah.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to integration.
Yeah. Both personally?
Yeah, individually.
And as a society.
Yeah,
like how do
we take these insights?
Yeah.
These experiences.
Yeah, from these journeys.
And
actually apply them.
To our lives.
To our lives, to our communities.
To the world.
That's the real work.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just have.
Yeah. It's not enough to just have the experience.
You
have to do something with it.
Yeah.
You have to integrate it.
And that change can look like so many different things.
Yeah. It could be making different choices.
In your everyday life.
Yeah. It could be getting involved.
In activism.
In social justice movements.
Yeah.
It could be pushing for changes in drug policy.
Right.
It could be just being more present.
Yeah.
More compassionate.
In your relationships.
With others.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many ways.
And supporting research.
The education.
The education, yeah.
Like the work that MAPS is doing.
Right, and other organizations.
Yeah. We need more research.
Yeah.
We need to keep learning about the science.
The risks.
The risks.
Yeah.
The best ways to use these substances safely and effectively.
Yeah, we need more spaces for dialogue.
Yeah, for open and honest conversations.
Yeah. About the ethical issues.
The cultural issues.
Yeah, all the complex stuff.
That comes with this psychedelic renaissance.
Because ultimately, this is about more than just drugs.
It is about more than just drugs.
It's about expanding our consciousness.
Yeah.
It's about healing
ourselves
and our planet.
Yeah.
Creating a better world.
A more just and compassionate world.
What are your thoughts on all of this?
Yeah, we've covered a lot.
We've explored a lot, from the history and the science.
To the hype and the hope.
The controversies.
Yeah.
The potential.
It's a lot to take in.
I'm feeling cautiously optimistic.
Cautiously optimistic? I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Like, I'm excited about the potential.
Yeah, the potential is huge.
But I also recognize that
we need to be thoughtful.
Yeah, we need to be thoughtful.
Responsible. Address the ethical considerations.
Address all those ethical considerations.
Mitigate the risks.
Yeah.
It's a powerful movement.
Yeah.
With big implications.
Huge implications.
And we need to navigate it carefully.
Yeah. So as we wrap up this episode, I want to encourage you to keep exploring this topic.
Yeah, we've just scratched the surface here.
There's
so much more to learn.
Yeah, delve deeper into the sources.
Yeah, check out the TEDx talks, the interviews,
the
documentary, read the books.
Yeah.
Seek out different perspectives.
Yeah, and most importantly, share your thoughts.
Your questions.
Your experiences.
Yeah.
Let's keep this conversation going. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
On this deep dive into the world of psychedelics.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, stay curious.